We are going to go now and say a very good morning here to Mr. Jim Morgan. Hi, James.
Good morning, Randy.
How are you, buddy?
How are you this morning? Randy, I got a couple of comments on two different topics, but very briefly.
Yep.
Number one, I listened to Darren King yesterday appear for about an hour or 2 hours on a show on VOCM with Mr. Daly, Eddie. And I, listening to him for a while, he's a very articulate man. I got to give him that. And of course, he's a very smart man, having been well-educated and in charge and heavily involved in education. But I'm saying to him this morning, he didn't want to blurt out yesterday, but I'm convinced he's been shuffled. He's going to be shuffled out of fisheries, and he's going somewhere maybe where the Premier can use him better than what he's been used in fisheries. Unfortunately, he had to give a swan song in such a way. His swan song was, I'm going to give in to OCI, and I'm going to let them do what they want to do way back when. And we said, no, and looked like they were heroes by saying no to OCI. But now what he's doing is giving OCI the right to export jobs from rural Newfoundland in the name of fish being processed in places like China. And we're going to lose jobs in rural Newfoundland, all for the sake of a few jobs that he may or may not get in his home district in the plants of fortune.
So you think that means the shuffle is on, he's part of the deal, you make this move, OCI gets what it wants, the vitriol that we leveled towards you, we will fix very quickly because we'll shuffle you into another nice portfolio and put somebody else in there, and all of the opposition will dissipate.
That's about it. Now, having said that, where would he go? I'm convinced in my mind, I said it to you some time ago, not being denied by or criticized for what I said because it's facts. Men in the cabinet is Jerome Kennedy. I have great respect for Jerome Kennedy. He's a very brilliant mind, a lawyer, and very smart. Not a good politician, but he's a good man. I'm hearing from good sources. Notice you haven't heard from Jerome Kennedy. When I say you, the media, none of the media heard from Jerome Kennedy in quite some time. And I understand that he's pretty fed up with having to defend some of the things, I call them shenanigans, going on behind the scenes involving Nalcor, SNC-Lavalin, and others, regarding contracts nobody knows about, but deals being made involving these players, and using the taxpayers' monies. And I'm saying that I think the Premier has been notified of this, what's been happening, but she has to do something, and Jerome Kennedy don't want to be the face on Muskrat Falls, like his former colleague, and he lost his seat because of being a face on Muskrat Falls. So I'm saying that Mr. Kennedy is going to be replaced. I don't think he'll be dropped from cabinet, but he wants out. He's not going to run the next election, same as Mr. Marshall. He won't be running again, so there has to be a move for him out of that portfolio of natural resources. And I think he's pretty well fed up when he has his colleague, the Minister of Finance, go public on VOCM on a different show from yours, but on Paddy Daly. And Mr. Daly, I listen to him quite often, don't call him much, but he asked a question of his colleague, the Minister of Finance, the colleague to Mr. Jerome Kennedy. Also, do you have the numbers yet on the Muskrat Falls cost? Oh, yes, we have the numbers, and we're now preparing for our debate using these numbers. That's a direct quote from the Minister of Finance for the province. When asked, could you give us some information on the numbers, his answer was, no, you got to talk to the minister responsible, my colleague Jerome Kennedy. He's the Minister of Natural Resources, and he's the one that should be commenting on it. Now, which is right? Now we hear the Premier come out and say that, oh, no, we haven't got the numbers. And after going to Ottawa, talking to the Prime Minister, leaving the impression he hasn't got the numbers because we can't give him the numbers, the Prime Minister of the country, regarding a loan guarantee. Now, there's something wrong with this picture. Something really wrong, because who is lying? I'm not saying either one of them is lying, but somebody is not telling the truth. If they have the numbers, why be contradicting another minister of the Crown? Now, having said that, I'm convinced this is not too satisfactory regarding the Minister of Natural Resources, Jerome Kennedy, and he wants out of there. If he don't want out completely, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out completely. And what as a man that could replace him, he's a very capable man, Mr. King. He's had his time with fisheries, didn't like to go into fisheries in the beginning, didn't want it. So there's going to be a shuffle soon. So the Premier is going to have to try to do something Her image itself is old, but the fumbling around of ministers in her cabinet, she's got to do something, and she's got to do a shuffle. She's got to do a shuffle. Not really shouldn't be necessary after only a year or so in power as a premier, but it's going to be a shuffle. And I'm saying this morning that the situation regarding the secrecy of what's going on and not going on, what's going on mainly. I mean, the wheeling and dealing of contracts between the SNC-Lavalin and Nalcor and private companies in the province, the Premier should take action immediately. And I'll close by saying this. The Premier should assure now, she's a fine lady, but she's not doing a job, and she can't do her job, I don't think, right now. She may improve substantially, who knows? But she's got to do something very important to her for the future.
All right, sir.
No, well, let me say what I got to be.
Okay.
What she's got to do, other than a shuffle, she's got to put in place a situation where no member of the board of Nalcor, I repeat, no member of the board who's making all these decisions should be involved in any and all, either engineering firms, contractors, consultants, or anybody of that nature involved in the Muskrat Falls development. She should make sure there's no conflict of interest involving members of the Nalcor board, our Crown Corporation, and any private companies.
As always, Jim Morgan, good to speak with you this morning.
Take care, sir. Have a good weekend.
You have a good one, buddy. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.